Should you buy an iPad Air 4th generation going into 2026? Hi everyone, Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the iPad Air 4th generation going into 2026 and talking about, is this a good device to buy and things you should consider. Now, starting with the overall design, the iPad Air 4th generation has a squared off design here. We kind of have the same flat sides as we do on the iPhone 12. And looking at the back here, we do only have one camera and we only have two speakers. I believe we have a top speaker and a bottom speaker. And this one is finished in the space gray finish. This has the space gray finish, and this is my iPad Air from 2020. It's held up exceptionally well. I've had this iPad for 3 years, and it has held up pretty great. Now, looking at the front of the device, looking at the screen, this does have a screen protector, and the light reflects off of this here. But the screen on this device, I believe, is a 60 hertz panel. And I think this thing might only get 500 to 600 nits of brightness. I don't know exactly, as I would have to do a little research on that. But this device is typically not that bright outside, just like the iPhone 12, which I am recording off of. Now, as far as unlocking, this has Touch ID in the power sleep wake button. So if I turn it off here, now you can also press the button and swipe up to unlock. Let's do it again. Press the button and swipe to unlock. Now, as far as the cameras on this iPad, I will record from those and show you what they're like. Here I am recording from the 12 megapixel f1.8 aperture of my 2020 4th generation iPad Air. One thing about this device is it doesn't have night mode like the iPhone 12, which is the device I was recording off of. It doesn't have night mode like that device, but it does have great cameras. Here I am recording off of the 7 megapixel front-facing camera, which is an f2.2 aperture. This camera is good for what it does, but there are iPads that have better cameras. And the iPad Pro and the newer Airs are definitely a good exception when they have center stage, and I believe the iPad 11th generation as well has better cameras, but this will get the job done for creating a TikTok. I've even filmed a couple of YouTube shorts propping this iPad up in portrait mode for a couple of my short videos covering iOS 26 updates. So this iPad honestly does have excellent speakers. Now, as far as the software that this is running, well, it's running the latest version of iPadOS 26.1. And we have updates. Like, for example, if I press and hold on the traffic light buttons here, we now have slide over back. But it doesn't bring up like another app. Say if I open up Calculator, for instance, or for whatever reason it's not quite working. But say if I open up maybe Mail. You see that you really have to get the app to appear. as both apps do not go in slide over. But we also can press exit slide over here, or that's not exiting. So we do have slide over back on the iPad. Now, as far as the display, well, this iPad, as I mentioned before, this does have a 60 hertz screen. So unlike the iPad Pro, which has a 120 hertz ProMotion display, this device has a 60 hertz screen. Now, you won't really notice a difference if you're used to it like me, but if you're coming from a 60 hertz or a 120 hertz screen, then you probably will notice a difference. But as far as processing power, we're looking at the A14 Bionic chip with 3 gigs of RAM, which is honestly okay in 2025, but I would say this iPad has the same limitations as the iPhone 12 when it struggles to keep things in RAM. And even when trying to open up 5 windows in Stage Manager, the apps will get frozen in the background. I've showed this off on many videos, though I'm not going to do it on this video, but taking a look at my latest Geekbench score, I scored 2121 single core, 5099 for multi-core. And this was taken on iOS 26.1 or iPadOS 26.1 RC. So this does have the A14 Bionic processor with 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, as far as the case of this device, this is the case that I've been using this device in. It is a folio case. Now, the case itself does have some wear and tear. If I can prop it up right here. Now, taking a look at this case here, it does have some wear and tear. You can see part of it is peeling off here. That is wear and tear, as I've had this case for about 3 years. Now, as far as the speakers on this device, let's go ahead and go to my YouTube channel so that I can give you guys a sound test here on to how the speakers has held up on this particular device. Would have 2 apps side by side in slide over. It's not like that with iPadOS 26.1 like it was in older versions. Now, back within settings. So the speakers do hold up pretty good on this 2020 iPad Air. Now, as far as the storage and the pricing, that is a caveat that I have to also say for the iPhone 12. Now, with the iPhone 12, there is an in-between storage option, 128 GB. Now, if you're considering the iPad Air, prices can typically go from $200 to $360, depending on if it's in good condition or if it's used. But I probably would recommend a newer model, as the storage on this device is not that great. You only have 2 storage options with this iPad, 64 or 256. Now, if you do go for this one, I would recommend going for the 256 GB model. That would be a better storage option to go for because you will have more storage to do more things. I do edit my videos on here using CapCut, and luckily, it doesn't take up a ton of storage, but there were times where my storage definitely jumps around on this device. So that is an unfortunate caveat. I strongly recommend you go for a higher storage model. If you can, even a newer iPad. probably the iPad Air 5th generation, as this one, you can use it and it will run perfectly for day-to-day tasks, but the A14 struggles to do most demanding tasks, especially with the 3 gigs or the 4 gigs of RAM that both the iPhone 12 and the iPad Air, which is this one, has, as it will struggle and apps will reload, and that can be frustrating. So if I go into Photos, let's see if that reloaded. You can see there, well, it didn't quite reload, but apps can reload because of the RAM limitation on this device. So if you're considering an iPad Air, go for the 5th gen. This one is a very great device, but it does have some limitations to be aware of. And the limitations are with the RAM and the storage. As far as anything else with this iPad, well, honestly, this could be, and it probably will be, a good iPad going into 2026, because this device is still getting support and will continue to get support for at least one more major iOS version, which is iPadOS 27 in June 2026. Now, hopefully next year, I do get to upgrade this iPad, maybe go for an iPad 11th generation. But honestly, I just want to get this iPhone upgraded so I can get something new on the channel for you guys. I know you guys are probably tired of seeing the iPhone 12, but right now, that's typically my main device. But when I do get something newer, you guys will be the first to see it. As far as anything else with this device, well, honestly, it is a good iPad. But if you have all the money in the world, I 100%, without a doubt, recommend you go for the M5 iPad Pro. But if you don't have all the money to spend, a refurbished iPad Air from 2022, the 5th generation model, probably is the better one to go for. It has an M chip, more RAM, the same storage option, but you can go for the 256 gig model. It is a better option than the Air 4. If you have an Air 4 and it works, keep it. But if you are wanting to upgrade, I say iPhone 12, iPad Air 4, A14 Bionic chip. This is the year to upgrade. If you've been holding on to your devices, the iPhone 12, the iPad Air, for 3 to 5 years, like me, then this is honestly the year to say you're going to upgrade and go for something newer. As hopefully soon, I will be able to upgrade and get the iPhone 15. And if I do, you guys without a doubt will be the first to see it on the channel. My name is Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.